What's going on, ladies and gents? It is the Trade God Overtime edition. We had a lot of trades going down in the chat, so we thought, what better way to get the people, let them feel heard. Let's talk about what the people are going through here in the chat, and we're going to do so here on Trade God's Overtime edition. Christopher is in the chat saying he traded Calvin Ridley for Jonathan Taylor. Give that a grade. Give it an A through F grade.
At this point in time, I'm giving it an A. If Jonathan Taylor does not return to football next week, I'm very scared and sad.
Fair. I'm going to give it a B because I think that risk is there. But yeah, this is the type of trade you try to make to get yourself Jonathan Taylor when it seems like a year ago he was impossible to get in Dynasty. Next comes from Draco Juiced. My team is Lamar, A-Chain, Dameon Pierce, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek, Evan Ingram, DJ Moore. His question is, though, do I trade Diggs for Tank Dell, Miles Sanders, and Puka Nacua? That seems like a pretty good haul. Is that enough to trade away Stephon Diggs?
I think so. It's looking like you would be able to start Puka and Tank Dell every single week. And you probably have the argument to start Miles Sanders over Dameon Pierce. You're at least going to be having that question asked every single week. So I think you might actually be giving your roster a bit more upside there. And I think that's a decent enough trade.
I'm making that trade, Draco. Yeah. I think I am, and I love Stephon Diggs. I love your Diggs and Tyreek tandem, but I think that there's a chance that Miles Sanders is your weekly best running back. Of course, A-Chain's going to have big weeks. I just talked about why I'm not a fan of Dameon Pierce long term. So I think there's a chance that Miles Sanders becomes your most reliable back. And then you just backpile a couple of receivers that you can use all day long. Puka Nacua is not going to go anywhere when Cooper Kupp comes back. I think he kind of settles into that Robert Woods type of role, which was great for fantasy. It was a good role to be in. Sean McVay's a genius, and Matt Stafford looks healthy, which is very important. So, yeah, as much as it pains me to trade away my guy, Stephon Diggs, I think this is enough. I think, like Jason said, this might give your team just a little bit more upside. Kyle Grove in the chat, trade Garrett Wilson for DJ Moore and Kyren Williams, full point PPR.
I think on paper you probably have to do this, but something doesn't seem right about Kyren Williams to me. I'm not willing to accept it long term yet, and so I think I might be holding on to Garrett Wilson at least until it is really true that Zach Wilson is the starting quarterback. I mean, they just brought in Trevor Siemian, and they have the bye in 3 weeks. So I think that's when it will be truly reassessed. I think you've just got to hold on to Garrett Wilson. Wide receivers of his stature still find a way to produce somehow. He produced decently last year with Zach Wilson. So I think I'm holding on. I know you're the DJ Moore man, so I'm curious your thoughts and really also what Kyren Williams does for you in this.
So if I'm competing, I'm 100% doing this trade because I do think Kyren Williams is the guy all year. I mean, the way they're giving him the ball, they believe he's their bell cow. They're not giving him anything else. DJ Moore is in a similar situation to Garrett Wilson right now, but DJ Moore is coming off a 16-point and a 13-point game where Garrett Wilson's coming off a 9-point game. So, I mean, you could argue that they're in the same boat. So getting the extra asset, getting a running back that you can play every single week makes sense for me. I do agree, though. I don't think Kyren Williams is their long-term answer. But, I mean, a guy who runs a 4.8 becomes a starter in the NFL. He's doing everything right. He's doing the things that McVay likes to see. So do I think he completely goes away and evaporates in a year? Maybe not. I don't think so. So I'm doing this trade, especially if I'm contending this year. I definitely want to pull this trade off. Nino Pena in the chat. Trade Higgins for Amari Cooper?
These are I think I'm holding on to Higgins here. What about you?
If I'm contending, I'm absolutely pulling the trigger on this. It's just Amari Cooper is a potential Hall of Famer, and he just never gets respect. It's you pull back the hood. You want to see. I know he's had 2 good games now, but you want to see, is it for real? I don't know. He's 5th in air yard share in the NFL. He has the 4th most air yards, 7th in deep targets. They're using him downfield. He's still 10th in unrealized air yards, so there's still meat left on the bone. He's still top 22 in yards per route run. the dude is eighth in EPA, expected points added. He's still incredibly good at football. Where T. Higgins, I like the upside, but we've seen the downside. And not to mention, what's Burrow all year? Does he ever fully get healthy where he could be himself? We don't know if that's the case. And I also don't know if T. Higgins is part of the long-term future of this team. He hasn't got a contract extension yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
No. So, I mean, he could be in a worse or a less off situation next year. So give me Amari Cooper, especially if I'm trying to win. These nuts. My name is Jeff. My name's Jeff.
These nuts.
Broadway or James Conner rest of the season?
I think you've got to go with James Conner. And I mean, they're getting similar volume, but I mean, the Cardinals' offense is honestly being kind of surprising. And Rachaad White is still not hitting those efficiency metrics. And so I think, given, I'm assuming in this case, we're expecting, full health and everything just going the way it's going. I'm going with James Conner. I mean, especially with Kyler Murray coming back at some point, the offense gets even better.
In redraft, this is a smash James Conner for me.
Yeah.
He might get hurt, but any running back is capable of getting hurt. So give me James Conner. He's been producing even with a terrible offense. Noah Bonecutter. Ooh, Noah Bonecutter. Sounds like a wrestler. I like that. Cup and Kenneth Walker for Higgins, Tank Dell, and Zach Moss. Which side do you want?
I want the Cup Kenneth Walker side 10 out of 10 days there.
Me too, 100%. And I did have Zach Moss in the Market Watch article or thread this week because, like we mentioned, Jonathan Taylor gets traded. Zach Moss could stick around. I love Tank Dell. We still believe in T. Higgins, but I mean, Kenneth Walker is a stud. He's probably your dynasty running back 2 or 3. Now that he's proven that Zach Charbonnet is not going to take away what he can do, and their offense looks so good right now. And Cooper Kupp is a week away from reminding us why people truly value him in fantasy. So give me the Kupp and Kenneth Walker side. Dude saying, hello, guys. Joined a bit late. No problem because we're busting out the overtime for our listeners. We was asking if we addressed the Garrett Wilson situation. Should we hold Garrett Wilson with the Trevor Siemian signing? We talked about that, but let me put it this way to you, dude. If Trevor Siemian is your answer, you haven't solved the problem. So I would say how you feel with Garrett Wilson, with Zach Wilson, you should feel fractionally better with Trevor Siemian around. And that same goes for Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. Yeah, they're better than Zach Wilson, but man, there's no answer out there, or else they would have answered it, no doubt. Chris Best says trade away Olave and Swift for CMC. This is a blockbuster. What are you doing here, Jason?
I think you've got to go with CMC, and I'm really not a Chris McCaffrey guy. I have him pegged as a sell, but I feel like, well, you know what? No, screw it. No, give me Olave and Swift. I'm sticking with my guy here.
This is what I'm saying. If you're going to sell CMC, this is the return you want. A guy who was producing like Swift and a second round pick just 3 weeks ago in Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a stud. Kyle's also asked about Garrett Wilson. We just touched upon that. Hanson right here. Who wins the trade in the full PPR league? Brian Johnson and Josh Downs, or Waller and Josh Palmer? A couple of Joshes here.
Oof. Wow. I guess if everything is going how things are going, the Waller side, really, I mean, I think that eventually clicks if he stays healthy. That's really the big thing. But I would rather have Brian Robinson, to be honest, based on how he's playing and the usage he's getting. It's a very, very tough one. Josh Palmer's getting a ton of volume too, it's looking like. I honestly hate this question with a passion, if I'm going
to. This pains me because me believing in Brian Robinson means I have to start letting go of Antonio Gibson. But yeah, Brian Robinson's look great. And not only has he just been getting the volume, but he's been he's been good. He's looked better than we thought he'd be. Josh Downs is coming off for a double-digit target week. I'd rather have Brian Robinson than Josh Downs. Darren Waller does, as good as we thought he'd be, he hasn't been there yet. And there's always that injury risk with Waller. And when Palmer ends up being the second piece, no, I'd rather have Brian Robinson. Give me the running back and give me Josh Downs. Are we buying Christian Watson, Jason?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about that right at the end of the show, really, as we kept getting questions about Christian Watson, or that might have been the beginning of overtime. It's all blurring together. But yeah, it's looking like the price is cheap. We both expect him to hit that ceiling. Romeo Dubs had a 2-touchdown game. Jaden Reed had a 2-touchdown game. Luke Musgrave is becoming a thing. Just imagine what Christian Watson is going to be. Special.
I am definitely buying Christian Watson. Shout out Justin from Facebook. Shout out Justin. Would you use a first priority pick on Josh Palmer? His wide receiver depth isn't great, but he can get by without him. What do you think?
Assuming it's with the priority picks, as the question has phrased, I think I'm holding off. I think that there will be someone better off, especially if you can get by. If you couldn't get by, you need this starter right now. I think that you could do it, but I definitely think there'll be some more ceiling out there, and you've got to hold on to that first priority pick basically until you have to use it, because once you use it, it's gone. Someone else is sitting on that number.
Once you use it, you do lose it, unfortunately. This is how I will phrase it to you, Justin. If you are 0-3, no, I would do it. I would do it because I think you need immediate scoring. You need to win soon. But if you're 2-1, 3-0, let it ride. You don't need them, so I'd get by without them. Bronson is back in the chat. What's going on with you? Oh, shout out to you. We talked to you earlier on the hurdle. Trade JT for DK Metcalf. He's 0-3.
I guess if you're 0-3, you've got to go for DK Metcalf just for the 1 week, try to win. But I mean, if you had said you're 0-4, you asked us again, I think I would say just wait for Jonathan Taylor. But it sounds like you need to get things right now.
Yeah, and the fact that you're saying you're 0-3, I'm assuming it's. I think because if you're 0-3 and it's Dynasty, then I wouldn't. I'd rather keep the JT share.
Fair.
But if it's redraft, I would make this trade because I think even if JT comes back, DK's in the range. It's not like you're doing it for Josh Palmer. You're not selling it for a flash of the pan. You're selling it for a legitimate receiver that has mainstay power. So I think I'm doing that. Go ahead and make that move. Brent Clark in the chat. He's rebuilding. Superflex, he traded Deshaun Watson for Kyler Murray straight up. Which side do you want?
Oh, yeah, Kyler Murray. It is looking like Deshaun Watson isn't returning to Deshaun Watson of old. Is he, kind of looking like a decent floor? Kind of, to be honest. But Kyler Murray still has that ceiling with or without the Cardinals. And the fact that you're a rebuild, this just brings it home even more for me. Great job getting Kyler Murray.
This is 100% the move to make if you're in a rebuild. Kyler Murray was a pretty much damn near consensus top 5 quarterback in Dynasty. He's going to come back. And next year, could he come back with Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah.
It's certainly possible. And, an elite level tackle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely in the realm of possibility. This is a great move to make. Brent, way to do it. Who do you prefer, Jason? Calvin Ridley, or Michael Pittman?
Michael Pittman, only receiver in the NFL to have 8 or more receptions in the first 3 games.
For me, it is Michael Pittman now. For me, it has always been Michael Pittman. So give me Michael Pittman. Last question, then we're going to get on out of here. Trade Gods Overtime Edition. Jack Gorskowski. I think I know that. Gorskowski. Jack Gorskowski. Shout out to you, Jack. He traded away Puka and Kyle Pitts for Hawkinson. Dub or L's in the chat, Jason?
Falcons hat on, L. Falcons hat off, W.
Fair. Hey, at least you're honest. This is a dub. Jack, this is a clear dub for me. Selling high on a guy like Puka. You may not get much production out of Pitts, but hey, they are going to London like Jason mentioned, so it's possible. But no, this is a clear dub for me. And to be honest, this was a clear dub for everyone here in Trade Gods Overtime Edition. There's a lot of fun answering your questions. This might become a regular. Listen, if you guys and gals in the chat keep those questions firing and give us a laundry list of trade questions to break down, maybe we do a little overtime session each and every week. He's Jason Allwine. I'm Matty Kiwoom. We are absolutely the Trade Gods, and we will see you next week.